التعليم العام بالمملكة العربية السعودية، لنستكمل وإياكم ما لدينا من لقاءات وأوراق عمل تقدم مساء هذا اليوم. في الفترة الثانية سنكون وإياكم مع 3 لقاءات. سيكون معنا الدكتور آري بوكا والدكتور هشام الحسيني والدكتور ديريك هاستيد، وسيكون الحديث في أولى هذه الأوراق مع الدكتور آري بوكا الذي يعمل مدير لثانوية تشيلديت وحاصل على درجة الدكتوراه والماجستير من جامعة جيفسكيلا، وعمل مديرا لمدارسها الثانوية ومعلما لمادتي الاجتماع والسياسة في أكاديمية تريفولا. يشغل منصب رئيس اتحاد مديري المدارس والمسؤول عن المناهج في اتحاد التعليم. زار أكثر من 30 دولة بوصفه مستشارا، منها البحرين واسكتلندا واسبانيا، ونشر كتابا عنوانه قيادة المدارس الفنلندية وإدارتها. سيكون حديث الدكتور آري في المحاضرة التالية حول وضع مناهج جديدة وقيادة التغيير التربوي، ثم ستليها بإذن الله تعالى محاضرة للدكتور هشام الحسيني حول إدراج مهارات التوظيف وريادة الأعمال في التعليم، ونختم أخيرا مع الدكتور ديريك هاستيد حول التعلم مدى الحياة. سنبدأ بمحاضرة الدكتور آري بوكا حول وضع مناهج جديدة وقيادة التغيير التربوي. مرحبا بالجميع، ونبقى وإياكم مع المحاضرة وقتا طيبا. بإمكان الجميع أيضا استخدام الترجمة الفورية للمحاضرة للاستماع إليها، وكذلك بإمكاني أيضا استخدامها في حال وقت الأسئلة. شكرا للجميع.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and you can now hear me well because the microphone works very well. So I'm Mr. Ari Bokka, coming from the city of Jyväskylä, Finland, and I have worked as school principal last 21 years. And almost the same time I have also been the member of the Finnish Principals Association Board, leading the Finnish Principals Association, and currently I'm the president of the International Confederation of the Principals, the Worldwide Principals Organization. So my subject will be concentrate very important aspect of the school and education, and it is a school leadership. And I strongly believe, as many of the other people in the education business believe, that school leadership is one of the key issues when you like to do your schools better and raise the standards of the education. So now I have to find a place where I pointed this gun in my hand. So may somebody help me a little bit because there's a okay. So when we wait, another small device comes, so I just try to tell you that I get a very interesting topic, how we creating the new curriculum, and it's a very interesting topic because I'm now leading the curriculum work in our education consortium, which means that next year we will make the new curriculum all the Finnish upper secondary schools. And what is very important in the Finnish scale is that the school has the very strong possibilities to affect their own school curriculum. The nation gives the guidelines, but actually the school, the teachers, parents and the students are the stakeholders when we're building the new curriculum. Okay, let's start it. I think that what we have noticed here when we have changed a lot of evaluation things is that we must be very aware nowadays what's happening globally in education. And why so? Because our kids are not anymore working in Finland or in the UK, maybe not even in the Saudi Arabia, but they are the inhabitants of the global village. And that's why what happened in the world education policy somehow affects all the education policies, the nationwide. And that's why it's really important to have this kind of possibilities what the peak have offered us to discuss what happens all around the world and compare your own data and the data which is coming outside and find the best solutions for your country. And somehow nowadays, many times you heard that education is some kind of competition. We had a lot of ranking lists my favorite sport, football, is the competition. But I think that the education is not the competition, because if we start to make education as a competition, we normally act very short timelines. And when we look to education as a large, I think the decades or even many decades are the timelines when the real changes are possible one. So, as I said a little bit earlier, if you really like to develop your own school system, I think the investment, the human resources is very important. Teachers and school leaders. And I strongly believe that when school leadership is at a good level and they have the facilities to do their work, also the teachers can make better school every day. And actually, it also affects very much about the learners, the students, and behind the learners, the families. So actually, we are speaking about the learning community, not anymore so about the one school or another school. In Europe and some other countries, we have some problems in our finance nowadays. I looked at the Saudi Arabian numbers, and I think that, wow, if we have those numbers in Finland, we will be very lucky one. So, but how you use effectively the resources is one of the key issues when you leading the schools, maybe in the national level, but also in the school level. And I think that actually how you use the resources is also a very important part of pedagogical leadership. Somehow we sometimes thinking about that management and school leadership are two different things, but I strongly believe that they are part of the same issue. And when you develop the school, I think that it's a very important to develop the school system as a whole. When you develop the one part, you can maybe have the possibility to make excellent resources, but when you raise the standards in the whole system, it may take a longer time, but it affects the society and the students, the learners, much more deeply. One of the key success, I think, behind the Finnish education system is that we have a very trustful connection between education leaders and school workers, teachers, and principals. So we are rather small country. As perhaps you know, we have the 5.5 million people in our country. But it means that also that in the education business, almost everybody know each other, maybe not so well, but quite well anyway. So if the school leader has a problem, he or she has a straight connection to the nationwide organization where he can ask help or advice or whatever. And that kind of trustful thinking that there's no any punishment behind the education policy making is very important when you try to build that kind of new effective school. I think that values behind the schools are a very important issue. If the school principal, teacher, students, parents, other stakeholders don't understand the values of the education, we can do quite a good work, but there's not that kind of deeper meaning. So the values, for example, in the curriculum work is where we start the whole process. We think about it, what is important for us in the near future, what is important for us, for our students, And then we look at about that these are the values which carries our school system next decade or 2 decades. And evaluation, as we have heard here, is a very important thing. But I think that the evaluation must be that kind which encourages the school to work better. But if there's a behind the evaluation is even the small idea that it will punish somehow the school and the school workers, I think it's never worked so well as it could be. So I think that that's why the big work here in Saudi Arabia is very important, that you building that kind of evaluation system which really encourage your schools to do the better work every day. I like very much word autonomy. It's one of the most important words in my leadership career, and maybe because I'm not very good to get advices from my boss, so that has been one of the reasons that autonomy has come into that big part of my leadership. But anyway, I think that the autonomy, which means that the school have a lot of things what they can decide it by themselves, is very important. But it means that we must be very trustful connection between the education policymakers, education officers, evaluation, and the schools. And building that kind of relationship, you must be very patient. It not happens one night, not 2 nights. It's maybe take 5 years, 10 years. But when you start it, I'm quite sure that you see the results quite soon, that there will happen some very good progress in your school system generally. But there must be the guidelines, because if you are just autonomy, it could be also that every schools are running a little bit different directions and nobody is actually knowing what happens nationwide. So that's why we must have been some nationwide guidelines like the core curriculum, which actually gives the steps for the school what to follow. But after that, the school can actually decide it, what are the most important steps maybe for us, or how long steps we are taking. Are we all to make it the same, or are we doing a little bit different way? And to becoming autonomy, if that's the goal, it means that there must be a lot of in-service training, a lot of training for teachers and school leaders. And actually, what I have heard here, or actually what I don't have heard here, because I'm the head of the International Principals Association, we don't have discussed very much about the school leadership. So I think that it will be something what it's good to think about it, that what is the role of the school leaders in the future in Saudi Arabia. I just discussed one man today outside there, and he said that you have changed the school leaders' names, that they are not anymore principals, but they are leaders, which make them more demanding about the leadership. And I think it's a very good step if it was the right information. And there are some questions, and maybe all those questions are not a crucial one, but the way how we ask the question is maybe the more important. You know, in the Englishman said very many times, "What in the earth are you doing?" Which means that are you doing something stupid? But if you ask how you are doing, I think the meaning is totally different, and that's why I think these how questions are quite important, because it tells that what is actually the actions, how we are doing this. Are we doing this the right way, or is there something what we can do better? So it gives that kind of feeling, the one who will answer the questions, that I'm not accused to do something wrong, but it's more like the question that how I can help you do something better. And I think it's very important when we develop that kind of autonomy, independent, and also self-developing schools all over the world. I believe strongly the curriculum work. I think it's maybe the most important paper or whatever nowadays what we use to make better work in the school, raising the standards generally. But also I think that we need the curriculum, but we need also the action plan. And the action plan is the paper where we can make them maybe the short-term things, put it out what we will do this year, maybe next 5 years. And then the curriculum is that longer guideline which gives us the direction and the vision of the education. And the second thrust is the idea that sometimes every school system start to concentrate too more about the, let's say, administration or how the things look like, or this way, the right way to say, or not the right way to say. So it's coming easily also that kind of intellectual game of the adults, teachers, principals, education policymakers. And I strongly believe that every time when we speak about the curriculum, we must think about the learner, the children or the student or maybe adult who will be the learner and use that curriculum as his path or her path to better citizen and skillful human beings. So that's very important to notice that we are not making something for us, we are doing something for those people who are learners in the school. And when we do now the curriculum in Finland, as I said, we take in that work our teachers, our education policy makers. Now I speak about the municipality level or city level. We take our students, we take our parents, we take our enterprises, other stakeholders, universities, so that after we have discussed and planned together, we have that kind of much larger vision what will happen in our society and how the families and how the students see the next decade of the education and learning. And I can truly say that, for example, discussing curriculum work for my students in my school, they are between 16 and 19. We get a lot of information that how we can do things better in the school. They are really good one. Like the Aristoteles says that the one who used the machine knows better the machine than one who has planned the machine. So the user's information is sometimes more important than the one who actually planned the whole system. Okay, there's some part of the pedagogical leadership how I see it. So the human resources, I think they are all the time most important. Recruit your teachers, training your teachers, give them direction, advices, discuss with them, and very much work together all the time. So for example, when I think about it, my school leadership, it has never been that kind of work alone. It has been more or less work together with my teachers, and that's a very important part. It also gives me a lot of information what happens in the school. And it's very important that the school have that kind of vision or some kind of marks that what we are follow. There must be some legal guidelines, but there must be also some moral guidelines which help us to, how would I say, every day orientate the right directions and make right decisions. So what are the challenges in school leadership? I think nowadays when we have the PISA and all the other assessment and measurement, so there's a lot of that kind of political pressure coming that, okay, now the Finland is a little bit going down, so what we are doing. So are we doing the right decisions and think about it, that it will take maybe the decades to do something else? Or are we planning make the easy victories and just concentrate some subject and then think about it that, okay, now we are in the better situation? I think the most important idea behind what we must think about it is that actually how it affects our students' life in the future. So is it really important that we make that kind of correction if we see something happens? Or do we have to think about it that, okay, maybe after 20 years in the working life, there are totally different skills what they need actually. So that's the one thing what I actually don't like very much about this kind of world ranking, or even PISA is sometimes a little bit problematic, even we have been very high positions, because it gives that kind of actions which are not maybe necessary. They are more like that kind of to make ourselves feel more comfortable, but they are not maybe important actually for the students in their future. And when you develop the school system, I think at the same time it's very important to think about it, what happens actually in the society generally. So healthcare, working life, family life, social security, all of these things matter in the education. We have actually recognized in Finland that there's a strong connection between the students' achievement and the family background, and especially what is the mother's education level. So actually, mother's education level is one of the straightest indicator to give us the data that the students can do well in the school, and that's quite interesting. We have the quite equal education system, but still we can see that kind of things behind our success story. And the last one is actually a very big challenge, because many of the Western countries, we have the lot of young people who don't actually anymore see any meaning in the education. And especially they are boys. The young boys in the Western countries don't see that kind of future where education will raise their standards or give the better working place or whatever. So I think that that's one of our challenges in the future, that how we develop that kind of school that all of our kids will find it interesting and give that kind of feeling that it's really meaningful part of my life. And one of my motto during these years as a principal is behind me. It's a very famous Finnish novelist, Erno Paasilinna, who were also born in Finnish Lapland, where was my home also. And I think it's a very good one if you think about it carefully, that we are not traveling because of horses, that because we like to go somewhere. So when we think about the education system, when we think about the schools and education, and we have the developing plans, we must all the time think about it, that this is not just because we must do it, but there must be a really goal which are actually our youngsters, our future, our next generation, and all those challenges, what they will face when they come in grown-ups. So, as a school leader, principal, I like to strongly encourage to make investment, school leadership, school leaders training, and I'm quite sure that it will pay back all the money what you put it there. Thank you very much. And before I started my questionnaire, if there's any question, I have the one book with me. I wrote a book about the Finnish school leadership, and now it's translated in English. And during this conference, I heard that the next translation will be the Ukrainian one, so it's a very, very nice to have the Ukrainian copy maybe next year. But I like to give this our host organization peak. So Dr. Chalet, if you are willing to take this small gift, and hopefully it continues our good cooperation. Thank you very much.
شكرا للدكتور آري بوكا الذي قدم هذا العرض الجميل حول وضع مناهج جديدة وقيادة التغيير التربوي. ناخذ الأسئلة، سؤال من الإخوة ثم سؤال من الأخوات. يا ليت يكون السؤال مختصر وبصوت واضح.
Yes, working.
أوكي. يا ليت تعرف بالاسم بصوت واضح.
السلام عليكم.
السلام.
عبد الرحمن كتوعة، مدارس دار الذكر الأهلية البنين بجدة. I would like to ask you regarding the principles in general. Do you believe that there are certain competencies or skills that if they are not available in the principal would mean that he could not be developed anymore? I mean, is there a constraint or a limitation or a point when we can say that since this person or this principal doesn't have this competency, whatever training you are going to give him, it will not going to pay back?
Okay.
This is my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question. And first of all, I think that to becoming the school leader, really the leading the pedagogical things and the teachers, you must be teacher by yourself. So first teacher, and that you have that kind of strong idea about what is learning actually. And I think that one of the most important thing when we think about the principles training is actually understand that kind of whole idea of the pedagogical leadership. And as I said earlier, sometimes even in our country, the leadership idea, it's sometimes more that it's only human resources, but it's a lot of management also. But I think that there's many different ways or many different types of the people who can be the good school leaders. Actually, you don't have to be the best teacher of the school to become the school leader. Many times you must somehow like to be a leader. I think it's very important that you have that inside motivation to becoming the school leader. And very important thing, I think, that you must love the children. You must really like the children and the youngsters, because I think it's very important issue, because the school leader is always making also difficult decisions, some cases with the students. And it's very important that you have that kind of inner feeling that, okay, these people are most important in my life, and that's why even I make the sometimes hard decisions, they must somehow survive and continue their life and continue to be learners. So that's the one thing. I think that there's no that kind of stereotype school leader. In Finland, there's a lot of school leaders who use the glasses and don't have a lot of hair. So maybe when we look to male principals, we're losing the hair quite early because it's quite a hard job.
Thank you. سؤال عند الأخوات.
منتهى البلوي من مدارس الظهران الأهلية، دهران أهلية schools, a school principal. We know that Finland has the least percentage between the low achievers and the high achievers. How did Finland do that? My other question is, how does the school help the students with learning disabilities? Thank you.
Okay. Very good questions and very good benchmark our school system also. I think that the teacher training in Finland, we changed our whole school system in 1970s. So before that it was that kind of two-way school system. And then we started comprehensive school and give the same equal opportunities to all the kids between 7 and 16 years. So that was one of the very important turning point in our education system. And same time, I think that the teacher training, the university-based teacher training is coming more and more higher level. So actually, I think that when we look now the Finland as a whole, all the schools, most of the teachers, let's say that more than 95, maybe 97% have been trained in the universities. So actually, this kind of equal teachers resource is one of the very important thing behind the Finnish success, or this situation that the lowest and the highest are not very far from each other. And it's not, I think that actually the schools are not, if you go to Finnish school, actually anywhere, you can see the high professional stuff, and the schools are doing very important work, and the people are actually interested about their work. That's very important part of it. And the other question was about helping the students who have learning or some other problems. I'm running the school of 1,200 students, so I have the 2 study counselors who helping their career planning. I have the 1 special teachers, and now we're speaking the students between 16 and 19. I have the one psychologic, 1 social curator, 1 special teacher. I have the nurse and the school doctor visit every second week in the school. And then what is very important, I think one of the key message of the Finnish school leaders for our teachers has been that every adult in the school take care of the children also then when they have some learning problems. It's not just those professionals, but it's all responsibility, all duty. And I think it's very important message. And it helps a lot because, you know, in all the school system we have the students who have some problems with the learning, or they maybe have some problems in their physical or mental life, and we need to also educate them.
شكرا. ثانك يو دكتور علي. شكرا للدكتور أري بوكا، مدير ثانوية تشيلديت وحاصل على درجة دكتوراه والماجستير من جامعة يوفاسكلا. شكرا لكم أنتم لمتابعتكم لهذه الورقة التي قدمها الدكتور. متواصلون معكم في باقي هذه البرامج الخاصة بمؤتمر تقويم التعليم العام بالمملكة العربية السعودية.